Greetings, class. Today I have the opportunity to interview one of RCC's finest in our workforce development area, Mrs. Constance Peay. As you can see on the slide, Constance has a terrific background that's going to qualify her to share some unique and very beneficial insights, whether you are the person seeking to acquire the position or you are seeking to hire someone for the position. Connie, as I call her, is a global career development facilitator. She's recently completed her Master of Arts in Human Services Counseling with a specialization in life coaching. She is a certified workforce development professional, and she's also a certified Myers-Briggs type indicator and strong interest inventory practitioner. But Connie isn't stopping there. She's continuing to pursue her lifelong learning goals, and her next goal is to become a professional resume writer and one who has actually received a credential or a certification in that. Connie's been working in this area for a few years in our workforce development area in a variety of capacities. She has offered workshops, but today she's going to speak to us very briefly. In about 15 minutes, we're going to wrap up this presentation. And just know that this is just the beginning. If we have specific questions for Connie, we can follow up with her, and maybe we can even get her back for another interview. So Connie, let me welcome you.
Thank you for having me.
So folks, I've posted a link to the RCC Workforce Careers area where Connie and her teammates have offered some insights on cover letters and resumes and more. So feel free to go check out the workforce area, the careers section, and you will find some good information there to supplement what we're going to present here. Additionally, I will have some handouts that Connie has shared with me. I will put those into the course for you. So Connie's going to talk to us about resumes. And Connie told me that the resume's whole purpose is to lead to
the interview. Resumes are just it's your picture, your snapshot of who you are on paper. I often tell students, if you put yourself on paper, it's very empowering, and it's very, it really gives you a bit of confidence, so that when you go into the interview, you're able to really shine and show the hiring manager what you can do.
So again, we went out to the RCC website, and Connie shared with me a very important statement, and I've just taken a picture of that and posted it right in here, and she's going to explain to us why this is so important for you to recognize.
Often employers will get thousands, hundreds of applications, and when you think about it, there's only one position, and usually that one position is somebody has either retired or been fired. So you, as the individual who's seeking that job, would need to make sure that you are spot on for that job and you would be selected. So often I tell students to get on the other side of the table. What is that hiring manager looking for, and how do you best fulfill that? How do you become the solution to their problem? Because they need that position filled in order to have their company working smoothly again.
So Connie, you've noted some very simple things here that seem like common sense, like make sure you proofread your resume. What happens when we proofread and our brain just corrects those mistakes? I mean, in our mind, it looks right because we're the one who's typed it, but then we send it off with a spelling error or a grammatical error. Well, how does that impact how our resume is viewed by a prospective employer?
Well, oftentimes when you have so many applicants for one position, the person in the HR department has to filter through all of them. And the easiest way to discard, when I think about it, many times they're not looking for someone to like, oh, look at this great resume, I want to hire this person. It's often in that beginning process where, how do I weed them out? How do I not hire this person, or what can I find fault. And not that they're looking for a fact fault or looking for ways to really get rid of you, but if you have misspellings, that signals to them that you really don't pay attention to detail.
Yeah.
If you are not, if you don't use your capitalization and your and punctuation properly, and you're applying for an admin job,
Oh boy.
then as an individual, how can I think that you're going to be able to write a letter for me and send our memo out that's going to be correct? So these things, you just don't want to give that hiring manager any reason to discard you. Don't make it easy for them.
Gotcha. Okay, so we do want to pay attention to detail. We do want to have one or two people proofread our resume. And then we want to make sure that we have designed an effective resume. So Connie has given us some great tips here. First of all, she tells us,
when you do the resume, you want to make sure and one thing that we didn't really talk about before, if I can kind of jump in here, is the cover letter as well. So sometimes when you think about it, the cover letter is the information that's not really explained in detail that's in your resume. So oftentimes there will be, when you do an application, remember the application is the legal document. That has all the information about who your past supervisor's been, the address and things like that.
okay,
But when it comes to explaining more about your duties, you would use these bullet points in your resume, but you want to be able to get the attention of the reader, whoever is deciding who they're going to interview.
okay,
So a lot of times we would use something like a personal summary or a summary of qualifications. Oftentimes in older resume books that you might find in the library or even online, they'll say like objective for your resume, your headings that you use.
Yes, I'm familiar with those statements.
The objective is sort of one of that's sort of passé. It's old.
Okay,
So it's better to use something like the summary of qualification, personal summary, qualification of something that's going to give more of an outline and understanding of who you are and how you relate to the job you're applying for.
gotcha. Once we've done that, you and I were talking, and you said that you had 3 C's.
Yeah, I call it the 3 C's. When you write your resume, it should be clear, concise, and consistent. When you are talking about the headings that you use, like the first one, you'd want to use your personal summary or your profile or something like that would explain some of the things that you've done. My family's in construction, so I often tell my students to front and load that resume. Make sure that the information that you give them is the information that they don't have to. They're scanning these resumes.
Right.
Sometimes if it's the first time a employer is looking at your resume, you want them to see the information and be able to decide very quickly, within 30 seconds, that you are going into the interview pile. You're not going into file 13.
So what's file 13?
The trash can.
Ah, okay.
You want to make sure that you are going to be looked at. And so what you want to make sure is that that information is right up front. And it also is really good if it's right up front in the very beginning. Sometimes we have those application tracking systems, and the human being is not actually selecting the resumes. The human resource person goes in and says, I need these keywords and all 25 of them, so whatever, how many they've put in there. And let me see 10, 15, 20, 30 applications and resumes that have those keywords. Well, you could be the 26th or the 30th person with all 100% of the keywords, but not be selected because the computer took too long to find your information.
Ah.
So that's why I tell students to front end load. Use those keywords, that information of why I should choose you to hire or look at you in the very front top of your resume.
Okay.
That's why the personal summary is so important. The other thing is to quantify and qualify. anytime you can put a number, a dollar sign, or a percentage with any of your bullet points in your job description part or in your personal summary, that tells the hiring manager that you have a lot of experience and experience they're looking for.
So, Connie, if I were going to apply for a teaching job somewhere else, and maybe I wanted to work in the workforce training area, and I just said presented workshops what would be better?
It would be better for you to say how many workshops that you have presented. It would be better for you to say the different, explain or give a list of the types of workshops that you've given.
Okay.
Something that's going to give them more information. Anytime that you can use those I go back to the keywords. The keywords are key to getting a job. So you just want to make sure that those types of things are there. Don't make the hiring manager hunt for your information. Or don't say something like, well, I've done this in the past with other students. They have put in their personal summary that they have interpersonal skills.
We all know that's so important. So why
Right.
would I not say I have
that's
interpersonal skills?
Because it's not, if I have 25 more people that are saying they have interpersonal skills, how do I know what they are?
What makes me unique?
What makes you unique? A lot of
Okay.
times I'll look at the student and they'll say, I have great communication skills. And I'll go, so? So what does that mean? But if you take those communication skills and you say I have interpersonal skills because I successfully interact with a wide range of, or a diverse population, that's another one of those buzzwords of diversity.
Oh, yes.
Then they know that you you understand what interpersonal skills mean.
So maybe we all need some help in identifying and being able to eloquently express what our skills are.
Right. So again, I'll go back to if you can put yourself on paper, use that resume as your cliff notes. Everybody knows what the cliff notes are, right? Do you remember cliff notes?
I don't know if they know what cliff notes are or not.
Well, I may be dating
but
myself.
I do remember what they are when I was in college and I didn't want to read that novel that the teacher assigned.
Yes.
I would go by the cliff notes and try to catch the main points.
Yes, so that's pretty much what the resume is. You just want to really give them a good snapshot of who you are, what you can do. Also, when you use a heading like personal summary rather than objective, like we just talked about, it highlights and shows your skills and ability. And you want to do that in 3 to 5 sentences. You don't want to write you don't want to write that novel about who you are, but you do want to give it sort of what we call the 30-second commercial. And I have a handout on that I'll share with you
great.
as well. It really sort of gives you an outline of being able to answer some of those questions about who you are. So, and the more creative you can be within that 30-second commercial, sometimes that shows your uniqueness and why you're different than the rest of the crowd.
So the ability to tell a story of who I am, that can really resonate.
It can, but you need to be careful that you are telling that story in the idea of how you fit that job that you're applying for.
That particular job, yes.
Another thing I jokingly say, you don't need to go telling your story from the birth canal forward. You need to be able to say how you are great for that job, the one that's coming up, the one that you're applying for.
Do I say I have soft, hard, and transferable skills, and what are those?
Well, when you think about soft skills and hard skills and transferable skills, you're looking at those skills that say, they're going to be in the job description. A lot of those, the soft skills, like for example, we're looking for someone who has customer service. That is something that can actually float into the hard skill as well, because there are customer service credentialings that you can get, like in retail, for sales and customer service. So you might even have a credential for that.
Okay.
But for the most part, soft skills are who I am. I'm punctual. I'm reliable. I'm friendly. Those skills that, quite frankly, somebody can't teach.
Okay.
The ones that you are, a soft skill can also be my bad attitude.
Oh boy.
Um, but that's not a good one.
There you go. Okay. So obviously, if they're soft, there must be.
Hard skills, and those are the skills like, what I know. I know how to be a welder. You know what it takes to be a welder.
Okay.
You know what it takes to be a manager. You know what it takes to be a doctor. You've got
I've
IT.
been trained.
You've
Okay.
been trained to do things. IT usually, those people understand Microsoft or
Mm-hmm.
coding,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing.
So soft and hard, and then you told me about.
Transferable skills. A lot of times I have students, especially college students, who came right out of high school into college, and then they've gone through, say, they're getting a business degree and they're ready to go out into maybe advertising or into accounting or whatever their area of expertise is. A lot of times they've only worked at the Tasty Freeze or McDonald's. So they have a work ethic if they showed up on time, if they were polite and they had those customer skills,
Okay.
customer service skills, if they're able to do any kind of I'm trying to think of a word like maybe even some computer skills, those types
Okay.
of things that would transfer
Okay.
to a job. Also, you'll find that, okay, I don't have the experience as an accountant, for example, but I have experience in working knowledge because of my coursework in college
Okay.
to do book work or
Gotcha.
QuickBooks,
Okay.
those kinds of things. Another thing, transferable skills are things that, like it says, I can, or those interpersonal skills that you want to be able to use in all jobs across the board. So it's any kind of a skill.
Okay.
Like for example, if you're in college, you've used research.
Right.
You've learned how to research. So research
and every
skill
job needs that.
needs
yes.
that.
Okay.
The technology, the critical thinking,
Okay.
that sort of thing. Decision making, planning, being able to plan properly and organize.
Well, Connie, you and I have talked about a lot of topics here today, and again, these are for students who are looking for a job and want to refine their resume and prepare themselves for the interview, but also as supervision students, business students. You've also given us good insights into how we can approach reviewing prospective applicants. And I want you to share with us those two resources that you told me about, and how those might come into play as we are trying to define a job description, as we are trying to figure out what is it that I want to hire, or what is it that what kind of job do I want to do? What are the skills for different jobs? So tell us about those references.
Well, there's so much more for ONET. When I first went on ONET, it's through the Department of Labor. I felt like it was sensory overload. There's so much information on there.
Yes.
It's just really hard to take it all in. So my next move, it's mynextmove.org,
Okay.
which is sort of the more or less the high school version. But what it does is it breaks the occupation. If you go back and think about it, every job has a title, and every title has a job description, and that's where you find your keywords. And when you're thinking about those keywords, pretty much I tell students, what does the job ask of you? The abilities, skill, knowledge. What do you need to know about this job? What kind of skills do you have to have in place? A lot of times somebody can be hiring for a job and they look at it and they go like, well, I don't have the skills for that, or I can't do that. Well, you really don't know for certain until you search it out on ONET.
Okay.
You may have 80% of the skills, and everybody else that's applying for that job may have 60% of the skills.
So we can apply for a job even if we don't meet 100% of the skills.
Yeah, I mean it's worth a shot.
Okay.
You know, what do you got to
What
lose?
can it hurt? There you go.
What have you got to lose? So,
Okay.
I mean, I would have at least 80 to 90% of those skills. I wouldn't do it if you're 55.
Okay.
But it also gives you more of, it tells you what you would make. It gives you a guideline, like, I want to be I jokingly say an underwater basket weaver. Of course, you won't find that on ONET, but maybe an underwater basket weaver only makes $10 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to feed a family of 4, so over the,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to feed my family, so maybe I need to
Think about something else. Yeah.
But if I'm not making any money now, $10 an hour is better than nothing, and then start looking at how does that particular job help me go to the next level.
There you go.
So there are lots of different things, and I know I kind of got off topic there, but the ONET as a hiring manager, it gives you a really good idea of what those skills, knowledge, and abilities are for that particular job.
Perfect.
So,
Well,
and there's some other things on there. I talked about that you can also see, there's on My Next Move, you can take an interest inventory.
Ah.
And because the career development facilitator in me, I
Okay.
like to match the interest with the job. So, as my dad says, you don't work a day in your life. You
There
enjoy
you
what
go.
you're doing.
That's what we want for our students.
Yes. And so a lot of times you can look at, it will give you your 3 highest, it's called the Holland Code.
Oh, okay.
And so you can go back into ONET. I'll show you that later. That could be a whole
Okay.
nother topic.
Okay.
But it really gives people an idea of like, well, I want to go into nursing or into the medical field, but I don't want to be a nurse.
Gotcha.
It gives the idea of, well, what other opportunities are out there?
Well, you have really broadened the horizons today and given us great insights. And as you said, we have lots of opportunities for follow-up on specific topics. So, students, what I'd like you to do is to send an email to Miss Constance Peay. I will be posting her address, and I would like you to thank her and pick out just a couple things that you found particularly meaningful and what you'd like us to follow up on perhaps in another session. So I want to officially thank you again, Connie,
My pleasure.
for all that you do here at the college and how you serve our students, and especially for giving us these great insights today. And this is the end of the recording.